all, pre-trained ResNet or pre-trained whatever publicly available. So at ImageNet, these networks are being trained and available. You take that and you just tweak it for your own network. That is actually called as transfer learning. Transfer learning simply mean that you take a pre-trained network, maybe trained over ImageNet, and train it over your data so as to transfer the learning that you have done using that ImageNet data set. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then Chirag, you have also a question? That is done. I guess we didn't have got reply from...
Aditya, I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned like for video data, some other databases is being used. ImageNet is
Video...
basically
Fine. So in next maybe 10, 15 or 20 minutes, we are going to finish one application. So now, we have got several things like you different networks you understood. So now we can start about one of our application that several times we require is actually distance metric learning. What does it mean? I'm going to talk about that. And you can see that it is going to utilize what we have understood till now. It's a similarity measure that we wanted to learn. What does it mean? Is that suppose that if I give you two images and say that whether they are same or different, you remember that in Dainik Jagran or different newspapers, they used to give you two images and they want you to figure out 10 differences between them. Although they both look almost similar to each other, but how different they are or how close they are. So 1 minus of similarity is dissimilarity and 1 minus of dissimilarity is similarity if it is properly normalized. Our thing is that we wanted to learn a similarity measure, which essentially means that if I give you two images, whether they are same or different, this is the thing that we are actually looking for. So we have huge amount of images of Sachin Tendulkar, of Rahul Gandhi, of Narendra Modi, of big stars, and we have supposed that 1,000 such subjects, and for each subject we have say 200 images each, and we train our network in such a way so that whenever later at any point of time after training, if I show it two images, it can say that whether they are coming from the same person or they are coming from the different person. That is called as the recognition problem. We are talking about, it can be, handwriting recognition, in which you may have, words like this, and this. And previously you were saying that when I see this, can you say that whether it is 6 or not? That is classification. Now it will be that I am going to show you two 6s and I will say that whether they are same or not. Or maybe there is also a 6 like this. It is, much more, it's actually a different problem than classification problem. So in this type of problem, you are going to have data set in which you have training and testing. This is called as training. This is called as testing. And within training, you can have a small validation set. Testing you cannot touch when you are training. So you train it over your training data set and test it over your validation data set. And once you feel that, okay, your network is performing well, you started to see your result on your test data set. So face recognition is also a specific instance of this problem, which is saying that, okay, I understood that there are certain faces, which is actually face detection, which is different. We are not talking about face detection. Right now, we are talking about face recognition or matching two images. So if I give you an image like this, can you tell me that who is this guy, who is this guy, who is this guy, and so on? That's actually called as metric Metric always says that I'm going to have two things coming in. It's actually a function which will take x1 comma x2. Two things are coming in. It need to find out how far these two things are. So you can find out the distance, which is called as dissimilarity measure, or it can be the similarity measure, which is saying that how close they are. If it's a metric, then it need to follow certain things. First is that non-negative, which means that if I give you two things, you always can say that both of them, that there may be far or distance or whatever, but it's not a negative number. It has to be positive. The other thing is that if both of these things are equal, value has to be equal to 0. The other thing is that x comma y, if I give you A image and B image, and then I give you B image and A image, it remains to be the same. It should not be changing. That is symmetric. Third one is triangle inequality, which means that if I have X, if I have Y, and if I have Z, X, Y, and Z, then this distance plus this distance need to be always greater than the third side, triangle inequality. These are the property of any metric, and if you are learning some metric, need to follow these metric, metric properties. What are the traditional approaches for such metric learning is that pre-deep learning, that you have two images you wanted to match, then you apply some feature extraction algorithm. This is x1, this is x2. You will get that feature of x1, then you apply the same feature extraction algorithm on the second, you will get f of x2, and then you have some distance measure, which is maybe trying to find out how far this vector is from this vector. So maybe you extract features using color histogram, or maybe certain key points which are there in your image, and then learn the similarity using L1 norm, L2 norm, or things like this. That was old approaches. And the problem is that both of these things are happening independently. When you extract feature, you are not worried about how you are going to match, and when you are matching, you are not much worried about how these features are extracted. After deep learning, they started to learn both of these things jointly. Right now, they are not learned jointly. We want a method by which we can learn features as well as a similarity, both of these things in one go. The problem statement is that given any two images, basically a pair of input images, we wanted to learn how can we say that both of these images are similar or different. Output can be binary label, which can be 0 or 1. It can be binary, which means that, yeah, you just say that whether they are same or different, yes or no. Then it becomes a classification problem. In that way, you are just saying that whether two images are of the same person, yes, else no. Yes, no can also be there, but most of the time you do not want it to make such a binary decision, because even the images of the same persons are going to have huge amount of variation, and for every same person image pair, several times it becomes very difficult to give it a 0. And several times it may happen that due to occlusion, due to background, due to certain other external factors, two images, they are actually of different persons, but they are very close. So it's very difficult to give them exactly 1 or 0. Then we say that, okay, I'm going to give you two images. You need to give me that how close they are, but should not be 0 or 1. But you can give me a real number indicating how close or how similar or how different they are. Now it comes CME's network. What is this CME's network? First of all, CME's network is also a convolutional neural network in which if actually you are using two images. If you wanted to match two images, CME's network is also going to be a CNN based neural network. So I'm having image number 1 of this guy, image number 2 of this guy. and then I apply a neural network over that. By the way, this is that neural network we just have seen. You apply ResNet, you apply Inception, you apply VGG, you apply Alex, you apply your own designed network, whatever you want. So you take this image, pass it to your network, keep on working over that, and keep on reducing the size. And at some point of time, it will become a fully connected layer. And that then you have got, features like this. You have got a feature. The same network is actually being placed 2 times. And that is why network 1 and network 2, they are no different. They are exactly same. CMEs means twins. It is just that instead of serially giving this image to this network, we have made these 2 copies, copy number 1, copy number 2. Give this network, we have got an output. We give this image, we given to the network, we have got an output, and we have got 2 different outputs. One for this image, one for this image. That's the first of all CME's network. Twins, you all understand, same, exact same copy. And there are ways in which they have done is that you take both of these feature vector, merge both of them. Merge like concatenate both of them, and give it to again a fully connected network, keep on reducing the size. But suppose that it is 128, this is also 128, this becomes 256, then this becomes 100, and this becomes, single neuron. And this single neuron, either you can say it as a cross entropy, you can train it as a cross entropy, and say that as a classification that whether it is 0 or 1. So it is going to tell you that by what probability it is saying that both of them are belonging to the same person or both of them belonging to the different person. So if they are of different person, you keep on doing, you have got this value, and you make sure that this value need to be as close as possible to 0 when it is of the different person, or 1 when it depends that if you wanted to use 1 for same or 0 for same. So whatever. So just need to choose one. So right now I'm saying that if they are similar or exactly coming from the same person, this value need to be equal to 0, else it need to be 1. So in this case, y hat need to be equal to 1 because it is coming from 2 different persons. So now what we can say is that our goal is that to come up with a distance d, to learn a distance d using a CME's network, which will take 2 images I1 and I2 and find out the degree of difference between 2 images, how close or how different these 2 images are. So if they are coming from the same class, the value can be less than t or some threshold, and if it is more than, then it's coming from the different class. So you understand that this is actually trying to learn a dissimilarity, which means that this is 0, this is 1, this is t. All dissimilar pairs need to be over here, and our similar pairs need to be over here. This is your problem statement that we wanted to learn. So the standard CME actually works in this way, that you have got patch 1, patch 2, in fact image 1 and image 2 going into our network. Both of these networks are having weights which are shared, and that is why they are twins of each other, and you have got dx1 minus dx2, and that is your loss. If they are similar, this loss need to be reduced. So you keep on showing images coming from the same subjects and keep on reducing. But by the way, you also need to show the dissimilar images. You cannot every time show the similar images. You need to show the dissimilar images as well. So right now, what is required is that similar image, Both of these are similar. You have got two feature vectors. You have got the Euclidean distance. You wanted to minimize this Euclidean distance because both of them are coming from the same subject or the same type of object. But what you need to do is that if it is coming from different objects, both of them are two different things, then this value need to reach 0 and this value need to reach 1 as close as possible. So you make a batch. This is your batch for you, in which you are having I1, I2, I3, I4, I5, I6, and so on. These are your images. And this is telling that whether they are coming from same or different. So you see that if they are similar right now, I am saying that it is 1. So if it is similar like this, so they are similar images. Similar images, so they need to go in this, and their distance between their features need to be reduced, and distance between them who are dissimilar, their feature need to be enhanced. What is your final loss? Loss of your positive pair. Loss of your positive pair is that how, how big is this value, and the loss of your negative pair, how small is this value. You add both of them, that is your actual loss that you wanted to somehow reduce. That's your loss. Now the point is how to formulate this loss. So there are two losses, and I am sure that you all are slightly got exhausted, but only 10 more minutes are there, and after that we are finishing. And I just going to talk about two things. First is contrastive loss, and the second is one is contrastive, another one is triplet loss, and we are done. That's the only two things that I'm going to cover. Contrastive loss is going to use hinge loss in between. So that is the thing. So that first we are going to see that if you have a positive pair, what is going to be your loss? You have a query. So you have, a query image and a positive image. Means that both of them are of the same subject. So you have got a pair, and that pair is a positive pair, XP and XQ. You have got one image, you have got another image, both of them are actually coming from the same subject. That is why it is actually a positive pair. Both of them are being shown to a CNN, which is actually having a shared set of parameters, and that CNN will project this image into some embedding. This will also project into some embedding. Both of these embeddings are actually different, but coming from the same network. You wanted to minimize their distance because both of these images are same. So you just find out this embedding, get this embedding. LP is just the Euclidean distance between both of these embeddings. Simple. But what about the negative pair? Negative pair is going to have a loss which is called as hinge loss, shown like this, which is slightly complex. Don't read it, I'm telling you. So now you see that this image and this image, if they are actually coming from something which is other than chair, assume that both of these things are actually constituting a negative pair. Again, they will be shown to a CNN, shared CNN with the shared weights. You will get embedding number 1 and embedding number 2. What you need to check is that what is your loss? What is your hinge loss? What this guy is saying is that loss is how close XN and XQ are with respect to margin. It is just enforcing social distancing, COVID. This is social distancing for you. XP and XN, they cannot be close to each other. If they are closer than this margin M, you will be penalized 1,000 rupees. If they are far than this, no penalty. That is the thing which is actually being written over here. That is also called as hinge loss. Understand it, that I am having a margin of M. If my XP and XN, both of these embeddings, which are actually, one is coming from the query, other one is coming from the negative thing, if they are closer than the margin, that is breaking the social distancing. And if you are breaking the social distancing, we are going to penalize you. What is that penalty? That penalty is this: how close you are with respect to the margin. So your distance is this, and what is your margin this. So with respect to your margin, how much close you are, so that is the loss. Else, if you are far, xn is here, then there is no loss at all. You want to ask any question, then you can ask. Negative pair.
So
What does
is
negative
margin
pair
M?
mean?
Margin M. Okay.
One by one, I will tell you what is margin M. What is negative pair? Please tell me your name.
Sir Chirag.
Chirag, question is that this is one image query. This is a negative image. So what is a negative image? You tell me. This is Chirag's photograph, and this is Aditya Nigam photograph. They are negative, right?
Yes, sir.
And if it is Chirag's photograph, then it is positive. Yes?
Sir,
No.
positive is relation. Positive means similarity.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Now I understand.
So the pair is that we are creating pair. We need to create positive pair. We need to create negative pair and show our network that if it is a positive pair, their embedding need to be close. Yes, Chirag?
Yes, sir.
And if it's a negative pair in which one is Chirag, one is Aditya, their embedding need to be far.
Yes, sir.
So when it is going to be near, it is Euclidean distance. It's going to be helpful, right? Simple.
Okay.
We need to minimize this when the positive pairs are there. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And if there is a negative thing that we are showing to our network, we say that xn need to be as far as possible. It should not be close within this M. It should not be, M is actually the margin. That's a COVID boundary. You
Yes.
cannot come closer than M. Right?
Yes, sir. I will understand.
Understood. Yeah, somebody else was asking.
I asked about the margin only. That circle, green circle, you mean margin?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
M is just a value, and this circle, which is basically,
the
anything
distance
which
between,
is, yes.
Sir, it
distance
means
between
M could be vary, or it will be some constant threshold.
hyperparameter threshold.
Yeah, M. So M is actually starting from 0.1, or then it can be incremented. So suppose that you wanted to initially create a very small margin because your network is also new, it don't understand very much. So if you make it 0, then it is almost that you need not to do anything. If it is 0, then you need not to do anything. If it is 0.1, which means that you need to make sure that if positive is this and negative is this, then there is, for negatives, value need not to be that much close.
Yes.
And then 0.2, then 0.23. So if you keep on increasing your margin, which means that negative pairs need to be as far as possible. So it becomes much more complex and difficult for a network. So we keep on increasing this M slowly, starting from a small number.
So it is a parameter, kind of parameter.
Yeah, it's a parameter. Yes, that's called as adaptive margin.
Margin. Okay. Okay, sir.
Yes. Yes. Anyone else? If you have any
So-
question.
Yeah, one
Aditya,
question.
I have one question.
Yes.
Aditya,
Push it.
when we are talking about the similarity, so like if I talk about this picture, it is having table
Yes.
and multiple chairs as well. So similarity will be why it will measure number of objects in both the pictures, or including the background as well.
Yes. So the point is that it depends upon your data set, how you are showing, what images you are showing. If you are saying that in one image there is a cat and there is another cat in the second image, And both of these cats are similar, but background is different. And you have presented this thing as a similar pair. The network need to understand that where is the background, and I should not be considering it. Otherwise, we started to learn that thing as well. So it need to learn depending upon your data. So if your network is having two face images, only well cropped, only faces are shown, network will try to only focus on face and eyes and different, possible things that you are interested in. So if you have much more amount of background which is also there, network will create issues. So it depends upon that how well curated and drafted data you are showing to your network. Is it okay? No?
So tell one more question, like we have the Google Photos, okay?
Yes.
We save our photos in mobile and it immediately tell it is person A, it is person B. We are
Yes.
not giving any input to them. Sometimes
Yes.
it asks like who is that person, like, and after that it starts recognizing.
Yes.
So how that work? Like they are also checking the
Same.
similarity, no?
Exactly same network. Exactly same. Google has actually created this network. I guess the guys, this was actually way back in 18. I guess Google or Facebook, because they are the one who can do face recognition better than anyone because they have data. So who have data? The persons who are having data and computational power, they are the giants. So the point is that FaceNet was actually the paper. FaceNet, the name is FaceNet, and the recent paper is actually some ArcNet, ArcFace. I'm sorry. There is one paper which is called as FaceNet, maybe in 2017 or 18. They have come up with networks by which you can recognize two persons. And Facebook, Google, all these guys actually use exactly similar type of CMEs network for matching. But recently it also got changed, by the way, and they started to use a different type of loss that is called as ARC loss. So there is a new paper, maybe 2020, I guess, that is ArcFace. So they started to say that even CMEs is not required for learning the metric. They are better off with that ARC loss. But I can say that network more or less remains to be the same. Network is almost like, the RESTnet or InceptionNet or similar to that. We are training. Now we are talking about an application. So we are seeing that how can we train such networks? You tweak the training and it started to perform a different type of task and application for you. Right? Is that okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Fine. Fine. So what is contrastive loss? Contrastive loss is nothing but this, which this is, voice is not clear.
So one question before we move on.
Yes, please ask.
In the last slide. So maybe I didn't get when you said it earlier as well, but the point is like the XN and XQ, right? Are they any specific values that they converge to? If it is classification, it could be binary values, right? Both are giving me the binary values and we are taking the net of it. So apart from it, is that anything different?
Yes, so they are different. They are embeddings. Embedding and final class. See, let me show you over here. Let us go here. You can see that these are two feature vectors we have got. Even
Yes,
let
sir.
us go and see it over here that your network was starting from here, keep on reducing. And after that, probably you may have your classification. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is a fully connected. We have got, some feature from here. So this is not your binary feature. This is actually a n-dimensional feature coming from Rn. It's actually a ND feature vector.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's actually a real numbered, real valued feature vector. Okay.
Okay.
And
So
that is why
what
we, Yes, and that is why you are doing Euclidean losses and so on.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so
While training,
contrastive.
we
one
require the
hello.
fully connected.
Yes, while training,
Yeah, while training, I think just the CNN portion is sufficient, right? It's only for inference we require the
yes,
FCN
that's
later
what
on.
I'm. Yeah, so that's what I've said. That you take any network, remove the last few layers which are doing classification, and use the CNN feature as the embedding.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone else was also asking.
Yeah, so this is a part of unsupervised learning, right? Now,
See, still it is a supervised learning because we are telling that what is a positive pair and what is a negative pair.
okay, so we are giving labels during the
Yes,
training.
we have to give the labels, and these labels are actually here.
Yeah, so the question that I had is the one gentleman mentioned an example of Android phone where it automatically classifies photo for a particular person. Now we don't. It's completely unsupervised, right? It is trying to measure the distance of other photographs with the one which we have labeled, and then it says, yeah, this is same person or it's a different person. Now there, how does it find out a optimal threshold, the margin? That is the most important thing that we wanted to find. Or does it uh, tries to make it positive pair with all the available photos and all the available categories and then come up whichever is lesser one and it goes with that?
Yes. So let me answer it. First thing is that is a trained network. It is not doing any training at all. So forget about margin, this and that. Now it only takes two images and going to give you whether they are close or different. Right?
Yeah.
Fine. So that is actually a metric for you.
Now,
Secondly, yes, I understood your question. Let me tell you.
okay.
So I have got good amount of data of your Google photographs in which you are also there, your wife is also there, your children are also there, your father, your mother, this and that. I can simply do what? I'll take certain images. First of all, say that mark yourself. So initially don't start. It will say that initially tell me something. So once you mark that, okay, I am this, whatever images which are very close to your images, they will be marked as your images. And then we started to do clustering around that image and started to say that you may also be this, you may also be this. And then, it will started to take feedback from you that, okay, who is this guy? Who is this guy? So once you mark few of them, it started to find out similar images which are very close to the marked images. And that is actually the supervision that is actually being required. Even that thing is also not required. I can tell you that you give me your whole images, all data set, whatever the Google photos that you have. I will take all those images, pass to my this CME's network. It's actually a single CNN. I will get for each image, I will get a embedding. I will take that embedding and do clustering over that and find out, 5 or 8 different clusters and say that, okay, these images are some person, these images are second person, this is a third person. You need to write your name. By the way, till now, if you don't tell Google that, okay, this is Shishir, he will not be able to understand. He has to at least at some point of time, maybe it will also learn without your knowledge that this guy is Shishir and do your privacy intrusion as well. But or even it's being done. But right now you need to at least say that, okay, these are few of my images and accordingly it will do the stuff. Right. Does that answers the whole question? Yeah. Okay. So then it is, contrastive loss. This contrastive is actually the loss we are discussing, but it is not being used. But just wanted to tell you that Euclidean loss and hinge loss. So hinge loss is being used when y is equal to 1, which is the different objects, and y is equal to 0, which means that Euclidean loss is going to be there. You add both of these losses and minimize it, which means that hinge loss need to be minimized when pairs are negative and Euclidean loss need to be minimized but when pair is a positive pair. So both of these things are done. Now we're talking about the final, which is triplet loss. In 5 minutes, we will be able to understood this loss. It's not a very complex loss, but that is the loss which is most of the time being utilized. Just see that in the case of previous, contrastive loss, we were having a pair of images, 2 images. This may be, query and positive, or you may have query and negative. So only 2 images were there in a pair. Now it is saying that we are going to have 3 images in a pair. That is why it is not a pair. It is going to be a triplet, which means I'm having an anchor image, I'm having a positive image, I'm having a negative image. Like this is Aditya Nigam's photographs. This is Sachin Tendulkar photograph. I'm sorry. This is Aditya Nigam photograph. This is Aditya Nigam some other photograph. And this is say Sachin Tendulkar's photograph. Why this is positive? Because both of these images are coming from the same person. This image is coming from some other person. And I will get embedding for this. I will get embedding for this. I will get embedding for this. We have got 3 embeddings. We will get 2 distances, D1 and D2. These 2 distances, what we want to say is that D1 and D2, D1 need to be less than D2. We all understand why, because this is positive, this is negative. So D1 need to be less than D2 and D2 need to be more than D1, but even not only just more than D1, but there has to be a margin or a gap of alpha. It should not be that one value is 0.5, another value is 0.55. I'm saying that if you are bigger, then it has to be 0.2. Alpha is my 0.2 thing. So if it is 0.5, the negative thing need to be 0.7. If it is not, I am going to penalize. Understand? We are having not 1 or 2 images, but we are having 3 images. Anchor, positive, negative. We have a CNN. CNN is going to pass all these 3 images into 8. We are going to have 3 different embeddings, XA, XP, and XN. 3 embeddings you will get. Find out the distance between XA and XP. That is D1, XA and XN, that is D2. And what you wanted to make sure is that this distance is substantially bigger than this. And substantially means that there has to be at least a gap of alpha between them. This is being formulated and being shown something like this, that DAP is this Euclidean, DAN is this another Euclidean. We want that DAP plus alpha need to be less than DAN. And this is the thing that we wanted to somehow manage. Now the point is that what we are doing, we are trying to manage a gap of alpha between them. We wanted to manage a gap of alpha between positive pair and the negative pair. That is being defined as this. And again, if you remember, it is nothing but the social distancing. This guy cannot go close to this. There has to be a distance between them, this alpha. And whenever you want a social distancing type of thing, that is actually an inbuilt hinge loss. We have again created a hinge between positive and a negative pair. And the hinge is actually of alpha. The margin is actually of this alpha. So that is the thing, that if the distance between A and P is some value, the distance between A and N has to be more than this and has to be more than this with a value of alpha. That is the triplet loss, by the way. That is the triplet loss, and that's also being written in this hinge form as well. So you are having I such pairs in your training database. So what you can do is that you randomly need to make for a batch of M samples, M triplets. So triplet number 1, triplet number 2, triplet number 3, triplet number 4. which means that A1, P1, N1, A2, P2, N2, and so on, M such things. And for each and everything, M values, you get your loss. Then you add, and you will get J. And you backpropagate your network, that CNN, in such a way so that J got reduced. Essentially, this J is what? It is going to reduce the loss, which is ensuring that the distance between positive and the negative pair is maintained. That is the thing. The only one thing which is now being left is that how can you choose triplets, because triplet can be huge amount of triplets can be there. Because now what is the thing that you have got, you need to choose one image of me, another image of mine, and third image can be anything. So in this way, you can have huge amount of possible triplets. Huge amount of triplets can actually be possible. But if you use all these triplets for training, most of the triplets are very simple triplets. What does that mean? Simple triplets are triplets where it is very easy to manage a gap of alpha. Very easy. I mean, my face is completely different from someone else's face, and your network will easily learn that. In some time, it will easily learn and started to perform, got converged into a local minima. So for that, you need to somehow figure out that what is the strategy by which you choose your triplets. You should not be training your triplet. You should not be training your network so that it's being trained on all possible triplets. It is going to be only using certain important triplets. What are those? We need to choose the hard triplets. What are my hard triplets? Hard triplets are those triplets. So I have created a batch. I randomly chosen 1000 triplets. Out of that, and I have got my trained network up to this. This is actually in between. Iteratively, we are training this network. I'm having a network N, that's a CME's network. I am training it slowly. I have chosen some 1000 triplets. Then I see that out of these 10,000 triplets, something like X, these are some triplets which are failing the margin. What does that mean? They are failing that to make this, with respect to this network, the distance between their positive and the negative pair is not alpha. Those triplets are called as hard triplets. You take this batch, choose 1000 triplets, and see that, okay, this triplet margin is failing, this triplet margin is failing, this triplet margin is failing. So instead of for all using all of them, I take this, I take this, I take this, find out what is the loss and add that loss and just use those somehow losses to train your network. So we, out of 1000 triplets, we only train the network with those which are actually hard triplets. So if you don't do this hard mining, as I have said, that network is going to have huge amount of possible triplets to be shown, and most of these triplets are going to be very easy, and it will somehow learn something which is very, very simple and trivial, and because of that got converged into some local minima. And out of 1000, maybe 900 triplets are that. So what is going to happen? That loss is anyways being minimized because it is minimizing things over 900 things. But essentially those 100 places where loss need to be minimized has actually not happened. So that is why don't minimize loss while calculated over all the triplets, but you need to do hard negative mining. So the final thing is, that's our last slide, and we are done at 1:30. 2 minutes more. So here, there are actually two different types. They are actually being shown in literature that show one image and second image, the same, exactly same network, and your decision layer is this. then you can have same the two images going, but initially few layers are different, and then it is shared. This is called as pseudo CMEs. Pseudo CMEs means that all the layers are not shared, last few layers are shared, initial few layers are not shared. This will allow, somebody was asking in between, some pre-processing. So we are assuming that both of these images which are going and shown to our network, they got somehow pre-processed differently depending upon the amount of noise or texture or background or whatever is being there. So initially few layers are not shared. So both of these images go to two different networks, and finally they got some sort of embedding which is being shown to the same shared CMEs type of network, and finally decision network is being there. Yeah, so it's anyways having two branches, one branch and branch number 1 and branch number 2, in which initial layers are not shared and final layers are shared. Yes, so this was actually CME's network that I wanted to cover, and I understand that we are again late. So I assume that you must have got the things that we are actually trying to cover, and we do not wanted to, you know, carry forward anything forward, because we need to finish. We have a timeline. So we are exactly on timeline. Today we are expected to finish the up to CMEs, and we are there. And 1:30 it is. So what we can do is that 2:15 we can start our lab session. Is that okay to all of you? If yes, then please raise your hand. 2:15 we can start. Rashmi, Sinha, Prajwal, 2:15 we can start. Right now, 45 minutes we will be getting to have your lunch and so on. And then Daksh is going to carry forward, I guess, CNN and retraining and pre-training and loading of the weights, or I assume that so many things are he has actually planned. That session is again going to be very interesting for you. In between, if you have any feedback, please write here. If you have any specific comments, then you can write in the chat box. I'll be happy to somehow include if you feel certain things we wanted to add, or any other.
CMEs network. Basically, that is our target. So, is this a similar kind of approach taken up in GANs to find the similarity of the generated image and the base case?
GANs are different. Please mute. GANs are actually different, and when it will come, I will talk. Otherwise, you will be confused, and other will also be. So they will do it in a different way, and it's not a CMEs network.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes. Anyone else? Does pseudo CME perform better than CMEs? That depends, Kshitij. That depends. But I am telling you that sometimes your images, if they are coming from completely different domains or having huge amount of variation, then probably you want some initial layers so that they can treat both of these images slightly differently and enhance or modify or transform them into some representation where they are, they can be fed to a same network. So some sort of pre-processing. So that is why sometimes you require, if your images are very similar, like all the images are face images and well cropped face images, then you can directly use CMEs network. Anyone who is having any other question, any issue? Pradeep is saying research area at some point of time, I will try to address that. Yes, I will answer that. Sir, in CMEs, training time is quite more. Yes, training time is very too much for CMEs network, because the problem is also not a classification problem. It is trying to learn. It is trying to learn a metric. You just understand it in this way, that if I give you two images, you know, that Dainik Jagran Akkad Bakkad, in which you are having, you know, 2 images, and I just say that figure out how many differences are there. That is actually a CME's network. And when you are applying your brain to figure out 2 different things, several times it may happen that even you don't know what is being drawn, but you can figure out, are they different, are they similar? But when you are doing classification, it's actually a completely different problem. There you need to understand that what is being drawn. That is why learning metric is actually a different thing than classification. Typical how are feature vector mapped to embedding? That's a you know, your network is learning. Na? Feature vector is just a vector of 128 dimension, 512 dimension. You take an image, apply confool, and then you are done. You have, at some point of time, you got a vector. That is your embedding. But the typical application CMEs, it's actually a matching. Everyone has said CMEs networks are actually used to match to images, fingerprint matching, iris matching, face matching, any type of matching, handwriting recognition matching, voice recognition, any type of matching. CMEs networks can actually be used. Yes, sir, understood. Typical, yes, sir, okay. Anyone else who have any question or anything, you can write. We are done for today's lecture part. Lab is going to be taken by Daksh. Yes. Can you explain how the layers are shared? Because he is going to show you maybe. That is very easy. This is implementation part. So forget, I mean, that is not my point. That is very easy in CNN, I mean, coding.
So it's Praveen here.
Yes, Praveen.
So while training, so we have given the anchor image, positive and negative image, and we have trained the model. But while testing, we are just showing only positive and negative images.
Yes. So while testing, you do not know that whether it's a positive or negative, right?
Yes.
Yes, so you just show your network whether it's two images, and it's going to tell you what is the score. And if the score is close, you will say that they are positive, or both of them belongs to the same subject, or they don't belong to the same subject.
Yeah. Okay, sir. So input will be only 2 images.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Anyone else can explain? Yeah, Anish. That's the implementation part, and I guess that's very simple in CNN. Keras and I guess TensorFlow. Okay. Yeah, so no more questions. We are done. We will rejoin at 2:15.